Minuteman Press hasn't been paid yet for last year's flyer. And I called him and he said he understood that, with COVID and that he invoiced, in the next fiscal year. And so he was fine with getting paid after the annual town meeting and that he would like to do this job this year. So.
Okay. Who was responsible for that payment?
We are.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Board of Health is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we were responsible for the printing or the inserting?
As far as billing, both.
Okay. So we must have paid for the inserting. We didn't pay for the printing.
Correct.
And how much do we owe?
I think it's $250 or $300. I can't remember. The bill's on my desk.
Okay. Okay. So, and we are gonna get that squared away.
Yeah, it's supposed to be on for the annual town meeting. Kim knew
Okay.
about it, so.
All right. Who is going to assume the cost of this year's?
I don't understand what you mean. It would be paid out of our budget.
Okay, and we have the funds to do so?
I think I can figure it out because I think I can figure it out. Depends on where meetings and dues is. If that's in your expenses, we're not going to as many meetings. So therefore the conference fees or mileage isn't as much. So if that's in your expenses, then yes, we'd be able to pay it, no problem.
Okay.
If not, then I think there's some wiggle room in other areas that we can make it work. It's just
Okay, that's fine. I'm just thinking that we owe for last year. We're gonna owe for printing this year, and the insertion. So you're looking at like $1,000–1,200.
Last year's any bill of a prior year, the town has to figure out where that funding's coming from. It's not going to actually. It might come out of free cash. It might, wherever they've got extra money at, it won't come out of this year's budget for us.
Okay, so we're looking at $600 for the insertion and $250 to $300 for the printing, and you feel confident that we're gonna be able to make that work? I'm good.
The total
AJ?
would be 600. The total would be 600. That's the printing and the inserting in the crier.
Right.
Okay, Ann, thank you for clarifying that. AJ, your opinion?
Yeah, I am a little bit uncomfortable with asking them to do it again because we haven't squared up with them. It's out of our control because of the way things happened. But in view of the fact of what Ann said, she's reached out to them and they will do it. They're okay with it. I guess it would be okay. That's it.
Missy?
Yes. I mean, it's up to you guys. If you guys feel you guys want to do it, I'll be able to get the money out of one of the accounts one way or the other, and we'll move on from there.
All right. Well, I'm in. AJ is in. So let's get it done.
Missy, would you like me to do the logistics so that you don't have to do that?
I would greatly appreciate that.
All right. So I guess what I would do is I could get the copies made, get it to the crier, and then I'll just have them bill Board of Health.
Yep. And just make sure that they put my name on the bill or the Board of Health. That way it makes it easier. If the bill is received, they'll, in town, if it's received in town hall, they'll have a better way of making sure that it gets to me too.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
Then I'll get it out as soon as I can.
Sounds like a plan.
Ian, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for putting it in the crier.
Ian, I have one question for you, please.
Sure.
Because this old bill is a year old, are they charging us any kind of interest or penalties, the printing company?
No, he was really fine with it, and he just understood with COVID and that he also billed you really late, and so he knew he was, it was partly his fault.
Okay.
And he was fine.
All right.
And he appreciates your business, so he's good.
All right. Missy, when is the town meeting that this will get passed?
Town meeting is in May, I
May
believe,
8th, I think. May 8th, I think.
something like that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Good
thanks,
night.
Ann. Ellen, I'm just gonna make a suggestion. The next thing was 123 Uxbridge Road for the roll-off containers. But we do have someone here for, we have Tom Ryder and someone here for 65, 67 Hartford Avenue West. So I think it might be a good idea to take things out of order tonight, just so we can discuss the updates on the complaints and what's going on with the septic system at 65 Hartford Avenue West.
All right, I'm on board with that. Do we want to hear from the
I'd say
visitor, or do we?
I would start with Tom and then
Okay,
open it up.
Tom, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we went out a few weeks ago to the site. As you guys know, that we've had soil testing was conducted last summer. I think Colonial Engineering was the company. Just to refresh, that was based upon an original complaint. We looked at the site. The site is very difficult. We did 2 test pits very close to the wetlands or very close to the private well. It's going to be a challenge for design, likely moving the well, variances, local upgrades, innovative technology. So anyways, we didn't hear for a little while, and apparently the homeowner passed away. So I'm sorry, what's his name? Bud, was it?
Yep.
Bud. And so subsequently, it changed hands, and the person who purchased it hired another engineer. So I believe he was aware that it wasn't failure and that he had to upgrade. I spoke with that gentleman a couple weeks ago to let him know that he needs to have it upgraded prior to moving anybody in there, because it is in a failure that, it hasn't been continually used, and it is in a failure condition that warrants immediate correction before they start using it again. So Alpha Omega was the engineer hired. I contacted them again today, and to see what the status is. I spoke with, I believe it's Ralph, is it? From Alpha Omega?
I think you're still on mute, Randa. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you. I still can't hear her.
All right, someone's raising their hand.
Hello all, just wanted to let you know I am here on the call. This is Tom.
Hey, Tom. Thank you. Yeah, I think you've got yourself on mute, and you need to unmute yourself.
All right, well, anyways,
Is she joining by email, Missy? By
She's
computer?
on the computer.
Do you have an email or a telephone number for her to reach out to her?
I do. Let me try.
Thank you.
Okay, so anyways, I've been in conversation with the office, their office.
Okay, I'm in.
Oh, you're in. Okay, no, you're not going. Can you, are you there now? All right, all right, no one else can hear you. Can you turn off your speaker, and I'll put you on, speaker on my phone? Okay, here we go.
I don't know why it echoes like that.
Oh, Oh, because you have your speaker on.
No, I don't. Unless you can hear me now.
No, I can't.
Yeah, I know. I don't have you on speaker.
Well, Missy, is a way to mute her?
Hold on.
A suggestion, could she dial in on the number?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this, the sound from your speaker is coming back to the, so it's echoing.
I've got her on mute now.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. There's some reason your speaker's not working, or your mic is not working.
Tom had a good idea.
Yeah, why don't we just have her dial into the number to the meeting call by phone?
Okay, so to call in, hold on. The number is 1-347-467-1434. And the PIN or the conference ID is 896-100-443.
Pound.
Pound.
All right, she's going to dial in.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay.
We have a new number.
Okay. All right. You can hear me now. Okay. All right. So yeah, my name is Rhonda Tawadro. Sorry about all this technical issues. But I talked to Tom this morning. He called me and he was just wondering about what's happening with the septic. And I told him that we are working on it. It's a difficult one, so we're gonna have to ask for tons of variances. And I actually thought that we were meeting conservation, but I just realized that it was a Board of Health meeting.
I mistakenly thought that the conservation member was going to be here, but I guess that was a planning board member.
Yeah.
You're going to have to mute your computer.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to shut up this computer. Hold on. Here. Okay, I just closed it. Hello?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so this is more like just to get your feeling. How is this gonna work? We're gonna be asking the board for a lot of variances to make this work. And also we're gonna have to put in a new well because the existing well is only gonna be about 38 feet from the septic. So we're gonna have to dig a new one, and unfortunately there's just not a lot of room. So the new well is gonna be just a little bit over 50 feet. So it's gonna be like 50.7. And it's also gonna be 5 feet from the lot line. So we're just gonna be asking for tons of waivers and variances from the board to make this work.
Okay. Yeah, we do. We have a sketch. It's just a sketch right now. Just a concept of what they're looking
Yeah.
for.
It's the correct size, it's the correct elevation and dimension, but we just haven't wrapped it up because we're gonna have to go to conservation with a notice of intent. The closest point to the wetland line is 21 feet from the septic corner. So the septic system is going to be raised like 4 feet above ground. We're gonna have to redo the plumbing inside the basement in the house. Also, there was like a walkout door, and we're gonna have to eliminate that to put the cell in the back to support the septic. And there's gonna be retaining walls, 40 mil plastic barrier. So it's a challenging one. So we're just gonna have to ask for a lot of variances. So we're just coming in tonight, I guess, to see how you feel about that.
I think the number one thing is we wanted to hear that there was progress.
Yeah.
So that's the number one. As far as, the board probably can give you a little flavor of, their feelings on this, but they can, as far as commenting on a plan they haven't seen, that's probably difficult for them to do.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, because the lot is so small and there's wetland in the back, and the house, like the lot is about 100 by 90, or it's 90 by 90, so like 8,100 square feet.
Okay.
Rhonda,
Yeah.
this is Alan. I'm the vice chairman of the Board of Health. I'm going to assume, from what I'm hearing, that you're a representative from Alpha Omega, the engineering firm?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I appreciate the concept that you've presented. I guess, the objective is to get to the goal.
Yeah.
So, don't be shy. If there are things that you need from us, we're more than willing to assist you any way we can. What do you think the approximate time frame is for us to see a completed plan?
The only problem is because of conservation. We have to do the notice of intent, and that's gonna take some time to file and notify the abutters. And all that, unless I've had a similar project where the Board of Health issued an emergency order, and then we had a discussion with conservation, and we told them that we have to repair the septic, we cannot wait. So they kind of approved it based on that, and we didn't even have to do a notice of intent or any filing. So otherwise, it's gonna take at least a month.
Okay,
So,
that's reasonable. Yes, AJ.
at least a month to get the ball rolling with the Board of Health. They have to, with conservation, where we have to notify the abutter. They have to hold a public hearing, notify the abutters, and so it's
Just so
I
you're
would say
aware, for the requests that you're proposing, there is a variance procedure with the Board of Health too. It falls within the same pattern of notifying the abutters. It's not the 100 or 300 feet, whatever, but it's similar. Now, as far as emergency, I believe it's still being cleaned out. There's nobody living there. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And I told the property manager, not to move anybody in there until this is corrected. So that needs to be clear. That's going to be the biggest motive for him to push you guys and his contractor to get it done.
Yeah. Well, regarding our variances, we are asking from the lot line. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're gonna have to notify the abutters because the tank. Yeah, we're gonna get a variance from the tank to the lot line with the neighbors. So I was gonna say it's only within our lot, all the variances, but except the tank.
Well, yeah. So if you're locating a system closer than 50 feet to a wetland and closer than 50 feet to a well, I believe that triggers.
Okay, but that is our that's gonna be the homeowner's well, not the neighbors. But that's fine.
So,
AJ, excuse me, AJ wanted to speak up.
Thank you, Alan. Rhonda, this is Andy Fisk, the Chairman of the Board of Health, and I have a couple of things that I'd like to say to you. First of all, you mentioned the possibility of the need for an emergency, I forget what you called it, but the Board of Health can issue an emergency situation. There is nobody living in the house, and we cannot, as Tom stated, we cannot allow anybody to move into the house until this situation is rectified. So that won't be taking place. This will be by the book to get it done in normal time. And my one question to you is, when you, because of the sensitivity of this property, due to an abutter right on top of that house and the wetlands, any communications that you have with conservation, could you please CC Tom Ryder and the Board of Health so that we can all work on this together and make sure it's done properly, please?
Sure, yes. Once we start the filing with them, we will definitely let you know.
Thank you.
And we will be submitting our plans to you at the same time. So in case, so we want to get the ball rolling in both departments.
Thank you.
And we will communicate to both of you for sure. Yes, no problem.
Do you have a contact person at conservation, or do you need a contact person to help you facilitate your permit or notice?
No, but I will be calling the clerk tomorrow to ask him about like the deadline for the submission for the next public hearing, and just start getting on their agenda and see when the deadline to submit everything. And
Alan,
Yeah,
this is Betsy. I would just make this one quick suggestion as far as conservation, to contact Bill McHenry as soon as possible to try to get on the agenda, because he is leaving his position. And as far as I know, there's no one taking over as far as I'm aware of. So at least to get it before conservation sooner than later. That's all.
Thank you, Missy. At this point, Rhonda, I would say march on.
okay. Yes, absolutely.
And, the Tom Ryder made it, perfectly clear that no one can live in the house until the system has been repaired and inspected. So it's pretty black and white.
Okay, I will inform my client that. Like, I will tell him that, make sure no one will be living there till the septic is done.
No, that's fine. And feel free to reach out to the Board of Health for any assistance. We'll do everything we can to help reach the goal. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And I apologize about the technical difficulties and
Not a problem. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, Missy, next.
Can I ask a question before we pursue?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Tom.
Are we changing the protocol for how we run the meetings, out of curiosity?
So you missed the beginning. Andy is not feeling well.
Okay.
So in fact, he might be dropping off, or if he's not still here.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that, Andy. I was just wondering what the switch was for tonight. So Alan, you're running the meeting?
Yeah, you're stuck with me, Tom.
No worries, no worries. Just wanted to check.
No, I agree, and I'm sorry that I didn't point that out. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. I know normally whoever's running the meeting will check with the other board members if anyone has any questions on a topic before we terminate.
I don't think we're through with the topic.
Well, did we lose Rhonda? Is she still on the call?
I think she left on the septic issue, but it's a 6567 Hartford Ave. So she's not involved in
I had a couple of questions for the previous speaker, but if she's gone, I'll follow up another time. Not to worry.
All right. Or you can let us know right now, and I can follow because I've been in contact with her. If you have.
Tom Ryder, if I may.
Yes.
I believe you just said 65 and 67. This is only for 65, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, just to clarify.
Well, I have on the agenda, 65 and 67, just to give you guys updates.
Yes, okay. But as far as this particular issue with the septic system,
Yeah,
that was specifically over 65, right?
yes, the septic system was more an update type of thing. It wasn't something really formally or anything. It was just more let the board know that they're working on it. They have a preliminary plan, because we know that the house is for sale and whatnot, you know, just more of a check-in with the board, if anything else. And then because it wrapped in with 67, I just thought it would be a good time for Tom to just notice the changes or the goings on the other property that we received the complaint on.
Thank you.
Tom, did you want to give an update?
Yeah, I stopped by 67 several times, and I snapped a few pictures. I'm kind of looking for them. I can probably send them over. But it looks like they were making some progress. They've still got a ways to go, but they did start cleaning up the areas, specifically the areas that we were talking about. I ran into Bud's son-in-law or whoever. I'm not sure who he is. But yeah, he he was very, he seemed like a little bit of aggressive, to tell you the truth. So,
Yeah,
what are you doing here? What are you?
yeah.
I'm
If it's the gentleman that I'm thinking of, once they realize, they're very, very nice, but at first they can come off rather aggressive and rather gruff.
Well, the mother was fine, and so was the nephew. This was a different guy. So it looks like you know, a few of the vehicles have been removed. They still got one of the pickup trucks there, but the drums have been moved out of the wooded area. So they've. I haven't been there this week yet, so I'm not sure how much further along they are. But last time I was out there was April 3rd. So.
All right. Thank you, Tom. I know I've driven by myself. I haven't stopped, but I have seen progress. So I was happy to see that. Tom Fickner, seeing I missed you before, and I apologize. Any comments on 67 Hartford Ave?
Oh, just that I have also kind of driven by on occasion. I see progress as well. I was very pleased with the progress that has been performed there so far. So I know there's quite a bit to do, so it was nice to see. Mr. Chairman, or Vice Chairman?
Thank you. AJ, any comments on 67 Hartford Ave?
No, thank you. I'm just like you guys. I have been going by and slowing down and checking it out, but I have not stopped in. Thank you for your time, Tom Ryder.
Yeah, the other thing I checked up on was the funding available to help with these type of cleanups. There is some type of funding available, but it's not really for property owners. It's for it's more of a planning tool than anything. And basically a board would have to apply for it through the state. And it's kind of like there are strings attached, of course, to grant money. So it's more of a planning tool. And so it's not like to help out an individual with a waste site cleanup. It's more of to help out a series of issues in town. And perhaps town-owned property and stuff. So it wasn't really clear that you know, that could help the homeowner. But they seemed like they were getting help from junk dealers to haul metal out, and that's what they've been doing, it looks like. Over, sorry.
All right, thank you very much. Have we exhausted that topic?
I believe you have.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Next on the agenda, Missy?
So if we're gonna stay, I would say we would handle 123 Uxbridge Road if we're gonna go back in order of the agenda. The roll-off containers. I've driven by that property myself on the way to the clinics, and I haven't seen any changes. I did get the green card, so someone has signed for that certified letter, but I have not been, no one has contacted the office, email, or left a voicemail. Ellen?
Yeah, I've driven by myself, and I still see some containers on the ground that have construction debris in them. So they don't have a permit to operate this year, right?
Correct.
Okay, and they didn't have a permit last year, right, Missy?
Correct.
All right, and they're in violation. I wish there was something else we could do. AJ, comments on this issue?
I have a bunch of pictures. They've been, just like Missy said, there are over 10 containers. From what I saw, it is mostly construction debris. Lenny suggested to me that we include the DEP in this. I reached out to Tom Fichtner, and since Tom has had a working relationship with someone on the Ferrucci property at DEP, and he said he would, and I know that he's champing at the bit because I hear he's got some information for us, and I'm dying to hear what he has for us from Mr. McQuaid.
Tom, let us have it, please.
Well, that would be chomping at the bit, Andy. I don't champ, I chomp.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did reach out to Jim McQuaid. He's the section chief at for the solid waste management program at Mass DEP, and just had a conversation with him about the landfill briefly, but mainly about 123 Uxbridge Road. He provided a suggestion, and he kind of alluded to it with the pictures he took. What he is open to doing and having us actually perform the task would be to, over a period of at minimum 3 consecutive days, take photos that can be time-stamped. And these photos he would like to have taken pretty much at the same angle consistently each day. And then we can submit that photographic evidence to Jim and his team, and they would take action accordingly.
Awesome news.
I had myself actually taken pictures last week. I did do them 3 days consecutively, although my photos don't have a specific timestamp element to them. I did it over the course of Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I didn't know if the weekend, quote unquote, technically counted, because Jim did say that within the allowance of somebody doing the work that they do in hauling debris, there's an allowance for letting them keep a full container like that on their property. Typically, it would be no more than 24 hours, but it could also apply in the case where if they're picking up late on a Friday and they can't get to an officially permitted transfer station to offload the material until either the following Monday, or if Monday were a holiday, having it sit over a weekend like that would be considered acceptable, if that was the condition that applied. Obviously, here we know that's not the case. Pretty much the debris's been there for quite some time in the containers, so that was kind of the gist of what our conversation was. Mr. Vice Chairman?
Tom, thank you very much. That's great news, as AJ mentioned. Missy, do we have any type of photographic equipment that would put a timestamp on it? Or how do we do that?
I have a
My
camera.
phone doesn't. Go ahead, Missy, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, I actually have a camera that will do a date and time stamp on it. I just have to dig it out and charge the battery. I don't know if iPhone pictures, Tom, would work because there's no actual timestamp on the actual picture. I don't know if Mr. McQuaid was that specific. Tom?
He did mention the concept of a timestamp on the photo. However, I think it may also suffice that knowing that this is happening through, duly elected local public officials. I can verify this with Jim, that maybe just having photos confirmed by, let's say, either myself or one of us, that these represent photos taken over the course of this period of time, and on these dates, we're basically putting that in writing, I think may also suffice. But I'll get validation on that, because I know my phone, again, I don't know, some phones, I think you might be able to enable a timestamp feature, but I don't know if that's consistently the case for all phones.
Thank you. So I'm going to say at this point, if that camera you have, Missy, works, that would be great. And Tom Fichtner, do you remember when we were talking with this gentleman and his attorney that I didn't think it was possible for him to offload a container on the ground without having a transfer station permit? I thought the container had to stay on the truck overnight if they weren't able to get it to a facility to unload. Do you remember that, Tom Fichtner?
Well, I do know that once you put it on the ground, that then technically makes them a transfer station. But I didn't specifically get from Jim as to whether or not, in the case of the allowance that's kind of built into the guidelines, if they could, so say, for example, it's a late pickup on a Friday or a late pickup on a day, and they just couldn't get to an officially permitted transfer station, if they had to keep that load off the ground, or if there'd also be an allowance for letting it sit the way it is now for that short period of time. I could get clarification from Jim.
Alan?
Yes, please.
Couple of things. First of all, it's pretty much a moot point because these dumpsters have been loaded and on the ground for at least 3 to 4 months that I know of. So as far as weekends, I really don't think that that's an issue at this point. Second of all, I do remember conversations like you remembered it in our meeting when the gentleman, Francisco, came in with his attorney. He was specifically told loaded dumpsters are not to hit the ground. One more thing is, and I've asked Billy Ambrosino to join our meeting, the planning board has specific verbiage in their permitting for this facility that loaded dumpsters do not touch the ground unless it's for a quick transfer from one truck to another. They cannot rest because of the wetlands on the other side of the banking, which is downhill from the parking lot. And there is, again, we all know that this becomes a transfer station at that time. There's a whole bunch of criteria such as pavement, water retention, so on and so forth. But there is verbiage in the planning board permitting that states they will not have loaded dumpsters on the ground for any period of time at all. I guess Missy can back me up on this. I believe that Lori Ann Braza, the zone enforcement officer, has been abreast of the situation, has been asked to check on this also. And I really think that we should have a joint meeting between, if Lori Ann would join us. I don't know, I've never had her join us on a meeting, but at the very least, Billy Ambrosino or somebody from planning board. Tom Fichter, my question is, when you had the conversation with Mr. McQuaid and he suggested time-stamped 3 consecutive days, in that, after that, what would they do to help us at that point? What would they, what could they possibly do to help us where we are not getting action? What would DEP do? Was he specific about that?
Not necessarily specific, but basically there's a process that they have that basically starts the wheels turning. I'd imagine initially it's going to be notification, if not an actual visit by one of the DEP people to discuss the situation and inform them that they, they're in violation of Mass DEP regulations with regard to what they're doing. With the expectation of that is that maybe the weight of a state regulatory entity may carry more punch, if you will, than the locals. And then there are other elements that do take place, but what all the specifics are, I'd have to refer to the regulations that Jim was kind enough to email me that kind of outline all the variables with regard to operating and potential penalties and violations that can occur to somebody who's not following them accordingly.
Thank you. Tom Ryder may have some input as far as what DEP may be able to do for us.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so DEP definitely has the ability to enter into agreements and do stipulated penalties if necessary, or take they could take action. Consent order and agreements can be made if necessary, with stipulated penalties if they have to do that. So they definitely have a host of attorneys that can formulate the agreements and penalize. So easier than the locals can never do. So
that's where I take
what was
Alan,
that?
if I may ask Tom one more question.
Yes, please.
Tom, it's no secret that this man Francesco thumbs his nose at local authorities, although it is other towns and has no bearing on the town of Mendon. But I do know factually from physically being on properties where he's been at, he has a facility in Milford, and there's issues there with loaded dumpsters on the ground. They actually empty the dumpsters and burn the trash on the property. Milford has taken action there this past week, plus the fire department. Also, there's another facility in Bellingham, and it's the exact same scenario. And he's burying materials with an excavator that I witnessed. Although, like I said, these are other towns. This man is known for thumbing his nose at authority. How, if this went that far, what could we expect as far as if we fine him, he doesn't pay fines, we tell him you can't operate and he keeps operating? What can we do to stop this from happening physically? Police action? Is he arrestable offenses? What can happen? Worst case, because I'm expecting worst case.
Well, yeah, worst case, we would file a complaint with the court, and they would have the sheriff or the deputy drive them into court, and start the fine process that way through our procedure. We may be able to take them to a housing court or to a district court. And like a judge magistrate may hear the case, and usually they side with the Board of Health all the time. They yell at I've been here several times where they yell at these the people who are not following the rules, and give them a timeline and ask if the Board of Health agrees with it. So they might start another timeline. But the fines may be like $50 a day. We'll look at what the bylaw says. If it's a bylaw violation that we're looking at, if we're looking at a state violation, we probably would need some assistance from the DEP. They probably have an easier time putting the penalties together. So the state would be a good mechanism to use to help with the enforcement. Because we'd have to go to court to take them.
Okay. One more thing, Missy, if I may, when you do get that camera charged, if you would give me a notice, I will come get it, or Tom or Alan can if they would like, because I'm sure that you don't have any interest in pulling on this property and having any kind of confrontation with anybody. And I will certainly take care of that. I will do it myself.
Okay. I'll let you guys know.
What the court usually looks for are their representative attorney or the attorneys for the town, or if we use an attorney. They look for a list of findings with dates, when the violation occurred, and when the violator was notified, because then they're going to take that and start adding up the days. So, I remember the last time I was in court on this, that's what the judge magistrate wanted, because the judge magistrate wanted to penalize the person who was doing the violation, and wanted to figure out what the cost was. They were really gung-ho to do it. So I had to summarize, the dates that, so it might be good to have a list up front, like a bullet list, when the violation occurred, when they were notified, when the violation occurred, when they were notified. And then that can be counted up.
Missy, I just looked at my phone, and my pictures, I think I have 5, maybe 6 pictures. They came from March 3rd of this year. I don't have the actual timestamp on the picture, but if I swipe up on my phone, every picture has details as far as the whole identification of that picture. That was March 3rd. And Missy, what I'd like to ask you is, in your spare time between the clinic and everything else, the mosquito control and the composting and every other thing, could you please start, like Tom just said, a timeline? You'd have to look back for the date when they came in to the initial setup of this business, and any pertinent information and dates, so we can have a whole folder on this, because I have a feeling it's going to go as far as we're discussing. So we should have as extensive information and dates as we can, please.
Yeah, I can work on a timeline like I've done on other incidences we've had. Yep, I can do that.
Start from the very beginning when they came in to apply to go to business in Mendon, please, and then work towards today's date or whatever date you do it, please.
Yep, and I'll also grab a copy of the decision. I might have it in my computer as far as there were 4 issues that the planning board had set forth for them to agree way back, a couple of years back when they first opened up too.
Thank you. Alan, thank you for allowing me the time.
Nope, that's fine. And on my end, I'm in agreement. First thing to do is to get those pictures and with the timestamps and get them submitted to Jim McQuaid and to, as Tom Ryder suggested, have the timeline so that when and if it goes to a clerk magistrate or a judge, we can provide that information. Tom Fickner, thank you very much for reaching out to Jim McQuaid, and I look forward to getting this resolved.
Oh, sure. You're welcome.
Next issue?
I also have a couple of other questions if I could pose them.
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Have any of the other Mendon agencies sent any kind of communication to this gentleman as the Board of Health has done? Do we know?
Sorry, I was starting my timeline. I honestly, I don't know. It's just because the Board of Health has been the one that has noticed it. I know there's been times when Lori Ann has been involved, but that was more back when there was a budding neighbor complaining about it. And I know DEP's already been up there before, and I believe there's a notice of non-compliance that happened at that property also. But again, I'd have to look and see, try to piece everything together.
So you said DEP has been to this property already?
Yes.
Oh, when did that roughly take place?
Or code. I'm gonna say probably 2019.
Oh, okay. Oh, so there's some history. That's good.
Do you know what the situation was there, Tom?
I'm not sure if I recall that one.
There's a pile of rubble there that supposedly came from the city of Boston. And I don't know if it was false accusations or what, but there was allegedly asbestos in the pile, and that's why they went there to investigate. I noticed that the pile never did get removed, reduced, or anything, so I'm assuming it was somebody pointing fingers. Whether there was any credence to it or not, I don't know, but that was the general gist of the situation.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I stand corrected. It was 2020. At least that's when we received it. It was a notice of enforcement conference that they were supposed to have. And then COVID happened, so they were supposed to have a conference with DEP on February 28th at 9:30 in DEP in Worcester.
Okay. So
And
we
it
do
was
know that the planning board and the zoning folks are aware of the problem. Is that correct?
I believe so. I think Leva Andy's been in touch with them.
Okay. Well, what I just would maybe like just to have it as information is, would you be willing to just reach out to those groups and confirm whether or not they've taken any action, at least from the standpoint of sending any kind of notices on their behalf?
Sure.
Or just curious to see if they've taken any action on it.
Sure. So I just want a quick update too. I found the minutes that I got from Gail, January 8th, 2018. This is when they went before the planning board, and the board approved it with 4 conditions: limitation of dumpsters to be 50 for now, a 60 by 100 piece of land for slabs, parking to be 1 handicap, 12 regular, and no trash to be stored on site.
Okay. The only other question I have is with regard to photos. is I've been taking my photos from the edge of the road at an angle that captures the dumpsters where you can see the ones that have debris in them, kind of at the brim. Is it appropriate for us to actually be on the property to take those photos, or do we need to be off the property when we take them?
Tom? You there, Tom?
Yeah, hold on.
No, me, Tom Fickner.
Oh, yes, I'm here. Yeah.
It's my understanding that that is a business that is open to the public for the granite. Certainly, we're not going, maybe, they are open to go in and solicit them to get a dumpster delivered. So it is a business that has open access for the public to go in, whether you're looking at the granite for your kitchen or whether you're going to find someone and say, hey, can I rent a dumpster? So therefore, it's the, in my opinion, it's the understanding that it is open. It's not like we're going on a private property. That would be my defense. I've never been told that that's correct, but that's my defense.
Okay, if that's the case, that's even better. I found a pretty good angle from the road right at the edge, but if I can walk on without any concerns for crossing any barrier to take those photos, I have no objection to doing a couple of close-ups as well,
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend getting out of the car and walking around. The driveway goes around behind the building. You can just drive right in, snap some pictures as you're moving, drive right out. There's no need in walking around on the property facing confrontation.
Yeah, from what I understand is that the it needs to say something like employees only or construction site,
No trespassing.
Yeah, no trespassing. So there has to be some sort of signage for businesses to prevent you from doing certain things, no photos, stuff like that. Usually that's the case where they want, they'll have a security guard on top of that. And anyways, but in this case, they just want the customer to come in and browse around. So they're not going to put those signs up unless they really don't want them to see certain things,
Okay, great.
There is a gate, but the gate is always open. And like I said, that parking lot goes around behind the building. And that's what I did. I drove in very slow, snapped a bunch of pictures and went on my way. Tom Fickner, what kind of phone do you have? I
have an Android, Samsung.
That's what I have. If you take your picture, open up a picture, and if you slide, you have a picture on your screen, slide your finger from bottom to top, and the picture should go up, and you should get the details of your picture right there on the next screen.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Hopefully yours is the same as mine. But anyways, if Missy gets that camera, we'll be styling.
Yeah, what I plan to do was
All right.
Just to test it. I was going to send what I had done to Jim anyway in an email, and with my statement of fact that these pictures were taken on such and such days consecutively at roughly such and such a time each day, and just ask him if this is sufficient enough for their group to take action and just back. Mr. Vice Chairman?
At one time, I had the date and time on the face of every picture, but every time there's an upgrade, everything changes. I lost my voicemail. I've lost my email. I just hate these things. Back to you, Alan. Thank you for your time.
No, welcome. So I would say we have a process that we're going to go through to move this forward, and we'll discuss it again at our next meeting. Missy, next issue, please.
Sorry, I muted myself. The next thing I would say is at your last meeting, you had a situation come up with 12 Sandra Circle. And it wasn't on the agenda, and I just wanted to make sure it was on the agenda this time, just to make sure you guys, no one can say you guys violated open meeting law. Tom Ryder had gone out to meet with Fred Lapham a couple of Fridays ago to do a walkthrough on that house. And Tom, I don't know if you just want to give a quick update on what you and Fred have come to the conclusion on.
Yeah, so we walked to the house, and Fred agreed that he would put together a sketch, and I think I only briefed Andy on this regarding. It looks like one of the bedrooms is really, it's tiny. It's a tiny bedroom, and in reference, it's probably more like an office. It doesn't, I think we came to an agreement that the number of rooms may be close to triggering more than eight rooms total. But I think we could handle this as a deed restriction because when you look at it in deed, they could have, I can't remember, it was four bedrooms. But one of the rooms is he's going to. I told him he needs to identify as that this is going to be the office and do it as a deed restriction. Make sure it's on record that everybody knows that this is because he doesn't have any opportunity to add on to it anyways. Because I think they have a private well, and they don't have enough area to increase the size of the system. So saying that, did he submit anything yet, or?
No.
Okay, so I'll have to remind him that he was going to put together a plan showing the room counts, and I think we owe him the form to fill out for the deed restriction. So 2 things that are going to be put on file.
Okay.
Tom Fickner, any comments on this issue?
I am good. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Welcome. AJ, any issues?
No, I'm good, and thank you, Tom Ryder, for your input on this and your work on this subject.
Yeah, I think it was safe to take a look at that and really see that having somebody in that room, it was like an 8x8. I just barely made the size of a room. I mean, it was tiny. And he's got a lot of work ahead of him, roof and everything. So.
Not very good. Thank you so much. Missy, next on the agenda, please.
Actually, I think we can just roll 3 things all into one. COVID-19 updates on clinics and update on the VNA addendum. Quickly on the VNA addendum, I have sent off what town council had worked on, and I have not heard anything from the VNA. I'm trying to think if I got a bill from March. I know I've spoken to other towns when I'm at the clinics. They have questioned me on what we were doing, and I explained what we did because they don't feel it's right to have the VNA charging them. On the other hand, I do have to say that Anne and her team have been at the clinics helping with the shots. So, but they, in their addendum, makes no mention of the clinics. As far as update on the clinics, what I have is, if any of you have had a chance to see it actually operational, I've been there quite a bit, and it runs pretty smoothly. I've seen some comments on Facebook that well organized it runs. The people who are coming through are very, very appreciative. They are thankful for that site to be open. And last week was really tough. I actually worked 2 days at the clinic because we were in jeopardy of losing the state closing that clinic because of how it was kind of like a misunderstanding as far as when they would receive vaccine, and the state wanted it out right then and there, and they delayed the clinics by a week. So it kind of shifted everything, but we did everything that the state had asked for. We're up and running. I know Representative Soder has been there. Representative Meridian, I think that's his name, has been stopping in to see how things run. They've been very happy. So yeah, I mean, if you have a chance, I would definitely suggest you guys stopping by just to observe how it really looks. It's going to start ramping up next week because not only are we doing first doses, but the appointments for second doses will be starting. I think we have 400 people coming through the doors on Monday morning. So it's interesting, and it's really good work, and I'm very happy that I'm able to do it, and it's exciting, you know. So, Alan?
Yeah, thank you. It definitely is a wonderful opportunity for people to volunteer and for people from the Board of Health to feel as though they are doing something to, resolve the pandemic. I volunteered there 2 nights last week, and for the first time in a year, I really felt like I was getting something accomplished. I know Missy won't mention this, but Missy has received an award from the state of Massachusetts. I don't know all the details about it, but I know that she was very excited. AJ, any comments on COVID and the clinic?
Yes, thank you. Missy, you stated that Ann and her team were present and have been administering shots. When you say her team, do you know roughly, or maybe you know accurately, how many assistants or how many nurses, whatever you call them, besides Ann were there?
I would say besides Ann, there was probably 3 or 4, but they have had the assistance of the different towns' fire departments with their EMTs. So I would say from Ann's team, what I've seen of the VNA, I'd say if you included Ann, probably 5.
Yeah, that was my concern from the VNA, because it's going to be a subject coming up, I'm sure. Well, we sent 12 nurses. No, you didn't. I just want to make sure that we know how many Ann had in her, quote, team. I got my shot from an EMT from Uxbridge and never felt it. It was really, really good experience. Thank you.
Tom Fitzner.
Yes, well, I just sent Missy a series of high 5 hand raises
All right.
on the teams. Nice job, Missy.
Sorry, I don't see it, but that's.
Yeah, they just kind of, we're real quick.
What, no wine glass toasts?
What's that, Eddie?
What, no wine glass toasts, toasting her?
I'll tell you, if it was an icon, I would have raised it for sure. I don't see that icon.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
We'll be back in person soon enough. We'll do it live.
There you go.
No, I just wanted to, in the heels of what Alan said, just congratulate Missy and the whole group there. I know that Missy specifically, as well as I believe Jean from Northbridge, were highlighted by Erin Hightower on their added contributions and extra time that they've been given there at the clinic. So that's fantastic. I think I may be at the point myself where I could lend some volunteer assistance. So Missy, if you wanted to connect me offline and let me know the best way to do that, I may be able to put in something.
Absolutely. There's opportunities for prep mod. That's what Alan did. He was checking people out. There's also helping people schedule their second doses. And then there's what I've been doing with Jean Gnatic from Northbridge, checking people in. Sometimes if they draw, they get extra doses out of a vial, or they have no shows and we have to start going through wait lists, because I will say to what I know of, not one single shot has gone bad. Every shot that they have drawn has gone into an arm. So when we get unexpected people, Jean and I will have to register them and whatnot. So we can definitely get you into prep mod if that's something, or you can be a greeter or a runner, which is just helping people, directing them to where they've got to go. But yeah, I definitely will talk to you about that offline. Absolutely.
I do specialize in coffee runs, just to let you know.
That was another thing, since you said that, I sent you guys out an email. Northbridge is going to send it out. Uxbridge has, to all of the food vendors, to see if they want to be a sponsor. Food, for the volunteers, I think there's 35 at a time, whether or not they would want to sponsor. You can't donate. You're not allowed to donate with the municipality, but you can sponsor, and to see if, coffees and pastries or lunches or dinners or whatnot. So check out your emails for that and let me know what you think of that idea, if you want me to send it out to the local food establishments here in town.
Yeah, actually, I did see it, just to let you know. I saw it this morning. So I could just respond and just say, I think it's a good idea. It would be, like I said, an opportunity for our establishments in town to expose themselves and possibly, in addition to helping out a good cause. So I'd be all for it. Alan?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's a great way to say thank you to all the people that are pitching in, and it might even get the attention of some people that maybe aren't aware of the clinic in Uxbridge, and get them vaccinated. So I'm good with it. Tom Ryder, any comments on COVID if you're still there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. I'm going to get my shot next week. So fortunately, we've been staying safe. My wife's a hermit, so she doesn't go out anyways. Yeah. Yep. No, I don't have any more comments.
Was that a frying pan I
Right,
heard
well-
swinging behind your head there, Tom?
Just like in the cartoons.
She admits it. She says, "There's no way I can get COVID. I'm a hermit."
It's all good. It's all good. I'm glad to hear that everything is going well. All right, Missy, I think we probably cut you off short because you said there were 3 things that we could group together, and I think we got stuck on the first one.
No, actually, it was all of it, because it was COVID-19 updates on the clinic and the VNA update for the addendum. So we've hit all of that. So the only other thing I have for you guys tonight is I need to discuss with you I need to have something added on, if you guys agree, about a trash refund policy. And now I don't know if the opinion will change because we're going to have a new treasurer collector coming on, but I had someone who had moved from one part of town to another, blah, blah, blah. Typically, we don't issue refunds, whatever. I went to next door to the collector's office to talk to them about it. And the current one said that we should be issuing trash refunds if we don't have a policy on it. So it's not in writing anywhere. So my thing would be to ask you guys is to have something just simply written in our information that we have on the website and wherever else, that if you sell your property and request a refund, you must do it at the time of closing, or something that the town of Mendon doesn't issue refunds for trash bills. But he said you should put it in writing, because otherwise there's really no statute either way, but it just makes it easier if you have it in writing. Alan?
Okay, well, I'll start. I'm fine with no refunds. I would be fine with if you sell your property, settle up with the new owner at the time of closing. I'd rather just keep it simple and have no refunds. I don't think it's that large amount of money to try to keep track of the money going in and out. But that's just my opinion. AJ.
I agree with Alan. Would keep it very simple without getting too involved with it. Put it right on the, we have to have public hearing on this, Missy?
Nope, it's just, it's just more of having it in writing than, if,
Okay.
like Tom Z said to me, well, where is it? You're just telling me that. You should really put it in writing, so.
At the very least, I don't know where else you would document it, but at the very least, it would be on our monthly, or the quarterly bills or half-year bills, biannual bills, when people get billed for subscriber program, somewhere right near the amount where it's clearly visible, which nothing is, everybody's blind, we all know that, that we can state all sales final, no refunds.
Yeah, I would,
Tom
yeah,
words for this.
I would suggest that also putting it on the bill and then putting it on the website with all your trash information. Sorry.
Back to you, Alan. Thank you.
Tom Fickner, weigh in, please.
Well, I guess I'm going to be the dissenting vote on this topic. I could actually kind of see a mechanism in place for a refund. I look at this as a service that's provided by X number of subscribers, and they basically pay a fee for the service. I kind of, in general, if I don't get my service, I feel that maybe I should be entitled to a rebate of a fee. An example might be, let's say I sign up for a trash service and, typically, it would run on a 6-month period. If 2 or 3 months into it, I have to make a change or I decide to make a change, I wouldn't think, given the structure, that it would be too big a deal to provide a rebate of what wasn't covered. That would be my take. But back to you, Alan.
Well, thank you very much. I guess I really didn't think of that situation where someone has paid for 6 months and something changes that they're not going to use the service anymore. I guess I just I'd be very curious as to the bookkeeping method and if it's even possible with the staff that we have to do something like that. Missy?
My other question would be is, I think you need a definition of what happens, because if you have we charge either the full amount or we charge the half amount. We don't go by weeks or by months. And if someone says, oh, I've decided after 2 weeks of paying my trash bill, I want a refund. Oh, a month later, it didn't work out. Now I want to pay it. How do you handle something like that? I'm just out of curiosity, because you're making abatements, commitments. I just think it can get a little confusing. But that's just me. Alan?
Thank you, Missy. What if, for now, we just stated no refunds on the bill and on the website, just so that we're in compliance with the tax collector and their point of view, so that we have something. And Missy, you're absolutely right. What about the person that moves in and, there's 2 months to the half year and they want in? and they don't want to pay the full half year, how do you, calculate that? So
My other thing would
I
be,
guess,
you have a rental property. If the renter paid it to the landlord and now they're moving out, they want their money back, they paid it, I don't know. I mean, it's totally up to you guys. I mean, I'll do whatever you guys want to do. I'm just, trying to streamline it, that's all.
no, I can see the quagmire we could enter into. So that's why I'm going to suggest for now to be compliant with the tax collector. Just the simple statement of, no refunds on the bill and on the website until we can figure out a way to accommodate people that would like to get some money back. I mean, personally, if you sell your house, just like you have a half a tank of oil or you've prepaid property taxes, if it matters to you, you settle up the trash bill at the closing. Most people probably don't even think about it at the closing. They're just happy that they sold their house and they can move on to their next destination. Again, that's just what I'm proposing at this time to be in compliance. AJ?
I have no comment at this time on this, Alan.
Tom? Bickner?
I guess for this compliance element, I'm in agreement we can do that. I'd like to know that this would be open to further discussion, and then ultimately decide, formally through a vote, which way we do decide to go. A couple of things I will point out, there are abatements for other things in town that residents can get. And also too, we, as we understand it anyway, we have the existence of a revolving account somewhat, although I guess it's yet to be finalized the amount. But as we've been informed, supposedly the Board of Health has a revolving account. If that actually gets finalized, that's kind of been hanging out there a while, then actually control of the funds, I would suspect, would be a lot easier to handle because it would be on our side of the fence only, and it wouldn't be a case of having to go through town hall processes. So I just want to throw that out as part of that.
Unfortunately, when I looked at the annual, the warrant, there's no mention of a trash revolving account for the Board of Health, only for your engineering.
So engineering was the only piece, Missy, that they were made their allowance for? Okay.
Yep.
Is that only engineering, or was it also things that Lenny might do, or like say Danielle might do with regard to food inspections and stuff?
No, it was just engineering for your Title V.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
No problem.
Back to you, Alan.
Thank you. All right, so again, I'm going to propose that for now, we go with no refunds, and I'm definitely open to more discussion in the future as to how we could possibly accommodate people in, being able to refund money. But I think it's going to probably take us a while to kind of hash that out so that it's fair and equitable to everybody. AJ, you had no comment before. Do we have to vote on this, or?
I agree with what you just said, Alan, every bit of it.
All right. And Tom, you could go along with this for now?
I will, yes.
All right. Missy, do whatever you got to do.
Okay, thank you. The last thing I have is, the private well regulations. That's more of on there, so we don't forget about it. I know Tom Ryder was gonna do some work for it, and he's still working on that, so I would just say that's just something we'll pass by for tonight. And then, unless you guys have anything else from me, I don't have anything else for you guys, except to keep on schedule. I would say your next meeting would be April 21st at 7 o'clock. Like I told you guys before, I think right now they're not having clinics on Wednesdays, but as vaccine, ramps up, that might change. So, but we can address that, when that comes. Alan?
I'm good with that. AJ, Tom, good with the next meeting?
Good with that. I have one more thing, please.
Yeah, I'm
Go ahead,
good
AJ.
with the next meeting, and I had just had one other thing as well.
All right, Tom, you're next. AJ?
Missy, I heard Tom mention Danielle, and that reminded me recently, might have even been Easter Sunday. Yeah, it was Easter Sunday. There was some things bought at Sunny Farms down there by Pop and Cork that were expired. We noticed that they're expired. Is anybody doing our compliance checks for outdated products in these stores?
I would have to ask Danielle that if that's part of her, if that's part of the inspection. I know she has done Sunny Farms, so I can bring that up to her if you'd like.
I do. Please. That's it for me.
Tom, please.
Oh, I just gonna bring up meeting minutes. I know that we haven't really had an opportunity to kind of stay current. The last posted set that we had up on the website was, back in May of last year. So with all the things that we have going on, I'd like to see if we could kind of chip away and start posting additional minutes up. I did have a conversation with Ellen, and I think I might have been under the perception that because these meetings went virtual and we had recordings, Ellen confirmed that it doesn't replace the need to actually have written meetings posted. So I was probably a little lax in following up on some of the meeting minutes. So we could certainly use the recordings as a reference base to create actual written minutes, but I guess it's still a requirement. That was it. Thank you.
Tom, thank you very much for bringing that up. I was under the same assumption that where the meetings were recorded, that was the meeting minutes. Missy, any input on this?
I've been working on them and I've actually been working on the one for January 6th, which was when we had the gentleman in from Sharps Containers. Because there was a lot of information that night. Right now it's 4 pages long. So if you want me to write quick things up and just get them out to you, I can do that. It won't be very detailed though.
And I was going
Okay,
to
well, thank you.
Oops, sorry. I was just going to say or add, if you wanted some assistance there, I could maybe devote some time to just in listening to these recordings and help to kind of document some stuff down and create drafts for us as well.
I'll take it.
You would.
Absolutely. I will turn it down, I promise.
Okay, well, I'll connect with you.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, well, thank you very much for bringing that point up and clarifying things for everybody. And Missy, I didn't realize that you were chipping away at it so that we stay in order. If there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much. And we'll meet on 4/21/21 at 7.
Thank you all. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Andy, I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom Ryder. Thank you, Alan, for handling the meeting this evening. Nice job. Thank you, Missy. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.